Welcome back, everyone, to my morning autumn painting session. It is September and it's autumn, and it's a perfect time to get back to the canvas, paints, and try the new ideas. There is a quote where Dostoevsky says, "How gladly I watch the summer fade. The leaves turn yellow on the trees, and the grass dry out over the wide steppe. Summer is gone at last." Now is the time where paints are not drying so fast, where you have time to think and when you need to be precise with what you do, because in my case, precision is what gets things done. Now, a small digression. Mentioning Dostoevsky, I just remembered that he wrote White Nights, which the name just is something that stuck with me because it was the name of my first watercolor palette that I used when I was using and drawing with watercolors. And I still have the same palette to this very day. Yet this time I will be using gouache on a canvas. And as it turns out, coming of autumn means coming of change. And it is really a good thing to change the mediums, at least for me sometimes, as much as I have chance. Yet then again, I have to embrace all the challenges that comes with the change. So if I would have to choose, I would say I love summer and I do enjoy all the joy that it brings, but autumn could be actually the season for me. What brings me joy is that in this painting I've put a common autumn motif that you can usually very easily see around yourself when you are surrounded by autumn. And I won't be stepping so further away from the theme and the season I'm in. Before developing the painting, I need to say a word or two about lack of videos on my channel in the last month. And it happened so because I was heading back home to my hometown working on digital projects and prints that will come soon in my new web shop that I will develop as well. But now looking back at that and comparing it to this kind of experience, I treasure it more. I really like working on a canvas and I really enjoy working in real life. But nevertheless, both of the things have their own advantages in terms of teaching you something and in terms of just the process that you're going through when you are working on it devotedly. Now, having a grip in real brush and just giving on the strokes on the canvas, I wouldn't compare this to anything that there is to experience. Even though there are different types of arts and there are different mediums and there are different ways to express, I would say this is the most challenging one, and in the same time this is the one that you will have to learn the best from. It takes no easy route on you, and that is something you have to respect. However, I could picture myself working more on the digital projects behind my computer and on my graphic tablet, which is what brought me to the idea of making prints of what I did digitally. So my digital paintings are gonna be on prints available very soon as I get them with post into my own arms. And I say it so warmly and gently because I really put so much work and love into them. Initially, I made the digital paintings also for the event that is coming up in my town, where I will be representing my art, and it's called Magic Days, but more about that later on, maybe in the next video. So just for the up note, they are going to present realistically fairy tale motifs, completing with the tones of autumn, similar to this palette here. There will be even more to say about it all when they actually come in my hands, but by then be sure that I will post about them firstly and then introduce you to them through my Etsy shop. And I'm genuinely looking forward to that because it's going to give me another chance to make something new, to put the new things on, to create my Etsy the way I like to, because this is the time to put everything on the platform and just try to represent it in the realistically best way possible. Now, heading back to gouache, I never knew that the colors were so vibrant. For some reason, I always thought that gouache colors are actually more dimmed and that the light in them is not so present, that they will be quite a bit darker, but I found a way to mix them together so they can work on the pumpkins, as you can see, that I am trying to put on a canvas this time. Maybe the experience with watercolor is what brings this attention to my mind, because previously my biggest medium that I was working with was constantly watercolors or aquarels, depends how you call them, and they are quite different than gouache. But there is something important to note in between the relation with watercolors and gouache, is that you will, if you ever touch gouache or work with them, it's good to know, and it's very good thing to learn from other people's mistakes like mine. It's good to know that you could actually varnish gouache with watercolor varnishes, and I will talk about that a bit later. But the delicacy of gouache is in the way that it can just be present into details that I'm trying to put in the picture, while try working with watercolor and details, it's gonna give you a bit of a headache. Not too much, but it's gonna be challenging. This is something that I really enjoyed doing with gouache, because it actually put my details into perspective of something that I can do rather than something that I'm struggling with to create. However, speaking about creations, there is something that it is important to note for me, which is not only talking about a medium that you're creating with, but how challenging it is to create a certain vibe that you're trying to put into your artwork. For example, in this notice, the autumn vibe, the vibe of sun coming down, sunset, warm colors, warm palette, just gliding into each other with the tones of colors and of everything you need to have a complete picture that represents an energy that you are trying to put into it. And just for a second, when I'm thinking about something that I want to put on a canvas, I'm thinking of its own self, how it should breathe, how it should look in the space. What is something that I'm trying to put on with each color? What is it going to represent? What it stands for? What are the hues and the tones of that I'm trying to put into it? And now, since the picture is done, I believe the first thing that I could see in it is not the motives and it's not the medium, it's the atmosphere that it continuously brings to the site. And creating the atmosphere usually creates the whole movement, or something that they've called era in the learning of history of art. So just speaking about art, everything matters. Your thoughts matter, the way you choose your medium, the way you're choosing your motives, what are you trying to portray, what are you trying to put on a canvas. Just the idea, it all matters equally. Now I will just be returning back to what I was saying in the middle of the video. I was teaching myself about varnishes and I had a hard lesson to learn when I put a wrong varnish on a done painting mistakenly. And I wanted to share it here just as a reminder to myself that there will be unexpected challenges that are sometimes completely avoidable if I put a little bit more practice into them. So I should also state that some basic beginner mistakes can happen to everybody at any time, but it shouldn't deprive you from enjoying in painting. Also, the satisfaction of this varnish is just on another level. This is everything I needed to do after I finished my painting. And this is everything my painting needs to have after it's done. So just the glow of the varnish is giving me so much happiness, and it's giving me that joyful sense of what autumn represents itself to be. I hope it will be easy to see all the details that I did on this painting, but more so, I hope that the autumn energy is going to be present, so when you look at it, you will get the feeling of our beloved season. And just the thought of it being in a cozy room, of someone who treasures the goods and memories of the fall, makes me head back to the art station where it all begins once again.